Hello, everybody, and welcome to our door knocking segment. We're thrilled to have three of our agents who have had great success with the door knocking strategy interviewing with us today. Brenda Coulter, Bobby Clark, and Geoff Price. And they all have a variety of experience and lots of knowledge to share. So we're excited about the topic and looking forward to getting started. So first question I want to cover, and maybe let's start with Brenda, but what inspired you to begin door knocking? And maybe just summarize your favorite story or best results.
I have a real estate coach, and she pushes me to do things I don't want to do. And so for the last 5 years, I didn't want to door knock. And so it was on my homework to-do list, and I'm a very good student. So I did what I was told to do and did it. And then the other second push behind that was my mutual client with Sarah Johnson. She suggested we go do it. And I'm like, you can't say no to your client, right? So I'm like, sure, let's go door knocking. So that's how it all started between the two of them. Yeah.
And you have a summary of your best results?
Yeah, I was door knocking with our client, and she would stand on the road or the sidewalk, and I would door knock, and some were opening the door, and there's one lady's like, come into my house. You guys want to come in? And we're like, we weren't actually expecting that at all. I didn't actually expect many to open the door, and she invited us in. We got a tour of a house, and ended up not being for my client, but we actually went in and toured.
Awesome. I love that you went around with your client, and like, if you want to be held accountable to door knocking, take your client.
Right? Exactly.
Bobby, same question. What inspired you to begin, and what's your best results?
I was new to the industry. I came from a strong sales background. So I was in automotive for about 15 years, but prior to that, I did door-to-door sales. When I was growing the first little bit of my business, I had no idea how to get new clients. And the biggest challenge was, how do you get in front of people? Because at the end of the game, it's all a numbers game. The more people you see, the more opportunity you have. And that was really what inspired me to get out, is just, I needed a vessel to grow my business. And that was the easiest way. My network wasn't strong. A lot of my contacts didn't have a high net worth, and they weren't in the home buying cycle. So I couldn't use that as something to draw off of. And I just needed to get out. One of the biggest successes that I've had, it was really working with a couple agents. They needed a specific type of property, and we were able to find it. So it was off market. It was in Signal Hill. And what ended up happening is we ended up selling their house, and I helped them with a move-up house in Patterson. So altogether, it was just over $1 million in transactions just from knocking on somebody's door. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's in the pipe right now. I've got a client that's looking for a place in Aspen that I door knocked on an area where I sold a house. There's another client that I'm working with. It could be potentially 2 or 3 transactions just from knocking on somebody's door. So it's really cool, because it might not be a sell, but you could be picking up a buyer client too.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. And that's one thing, like our CIR Facebook agents page is a gold mine for anybody that loves door knocking. Like, I have a buyer looking for this. Oh, let's get to work.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. All right, Geoff, as one of our newest agents, I'm thrilled to see the results that you're gaining with door knocking. But same question to you: what inspired you to actually get out and door knocking? And
mine was, as a new agent, you're trying to choose your pillars for lead generation, and one of mine was going to be open houses. And starting in January, I basically came in when there was 0 open houses, really just till a couple of weeks ago. So I needed to adapt on the fly. And I came, similar to Bobby, I came from a sales background, and I actually did a fair bit of cold calling on the phone over the last, call it 2 or 3 years. And then just looked at it and realized that I had acquired those skills through the last couple of years. Why not put it to work in real estate? and that you can see the results tangibly right in front of a person. You know if they're reacting, or you know if they're going to slam the door in your face. In terms of the best result, I actually, one of my first listings, I did door knocking, and I ended up with 3 very concrete leads from knocking on 40 houses. And actually, one of them actually ended up, I put her into the system as a buyer, had all of her information. I knew what her budget was. And she actually didn't work with me, but she put an offer in on the house that we were working on. And in terms of the negotiation, because I knew all of that information that she had shared with me, we were actually able to come to a pretty good deal for my clients.
Nice. You mentioned something I wasn't planning on talking about today, but tracking your results is so important. Like, to know that you got 3 people from 40 doors, and then being able to measure that as moving forward, then it becomes easier and easier, and say, okay, I got to knock on this many doors to get this many leads, and law of averages works out.
Yeah, I don't know if 3 out of 40 is a good hit point in terms of leads. It seemed fairly high to me, but I think that time we had 22 door opens. So, I mean, you're getting a more than 50% hit rate for a conversation.
Isn't that interesting though, with the focus on in the industry for like the online lead gen that has a 2% conversion rate? We all know getting face to face with people is the highest conversion rate possible, and that connection. So it'll be interesting to see how you track that. So Bobby, let's start with you this time. Once you have your strategy in place, how do you prepare? How do you pick the doors you're going to knock on? What do you do to really get ready to start door knocking?
So what I did is, initially I didn't have a large budget to set forth and come up with marketing material, but I wanted to have something that I left behind, just because if I couldn't have a conversation with somebody, I wanted something tangible that would maybe at least pique their interest. So eventually I ordered probably like 10,000 door hangers from Vistaprint, just because they had a really good sale. But the strategies that I'd use is I'd want to make sure that I go to a community. It really depends too on what my overall objective for going out that day is. Am I looking for a house for a buyer client? Am I looking to conquer new sellers? Am I trying to find a house for another agent? They're all going to have specific results, or like different communities and different strategies to get there. So if I'm looking for a buyer, I'll go to a specific area that they want me to go to. If I'm looking for to conquest, potentially getting into a new market, or looking for somebody selling a house, I'll go somewhere that has a higher turnover rate, opposed to more well-rooted communities, where you get a better opportunity to maybe somebody that doesn't have a realtor because they bought new. They came from a different city. There's so many different reasons why people are selling. And the biggest thing is, if you're getting out there just to get a listing, is to find a community that has a high turnover rate, because that means more people are turning over in that community. My biggest mistake was, I live in Oak Ridge, and when I first started, I wanted to be the Oak Ridge agent. That was my main goal. Turned out I wasted a lot of time. I knocked on every single door in the entire community, and I got one initial listing out of it, which isn't bad, but time spent to your return out, I think it could have been better well used going into maybe another community that's not as well rooted in terms of age and demographics.
Nice. Geoff, same question. How do you prepare once you pick the strategy you want to approach?
Yeah, again, it depends on what you're trying to do. But same thing, I'll get an idea for how many houses I want to hit, or what the area around, if you're doing a new listing, the area around that listing, or an open house, the area around, even if you've sold a house, the area around it that you want to hit, and then prepare your materials accordingly. Usually now the target of my door knocking is to collect data. So I kind of look at it, you're planting a seed, and that seed will grow, whether it happens in the next month or year or 5 years down the road. At least you're getting them in your database and you can mark it. So I usually just print something out. I don't know if you can see that, but I put a UPC symbol on it so that they can scan it, and then they go to a landing page on my site, collect their data, and then whatever my information is that I've prepared for them, whether that's sales in the neighborhood or information about the open house, that's available once they've hit the landing page.
Nice. Brenda, how about you?
I'm not that fancy. Mine's always rooted around something specific, like Bobby was saying, where like tomorrow I'm making my son come out, he gets paid. And so he's money motivated, and we're going to door knock around in Airdrie where I did a sale. And then we had a bunch of agents that were very interested and disappointed when we did go conditionally sold or sold. And so we're going to door knock and just leave, just sold, and let people know that there are agents looking in that area, or buyers, I guess. So mine's always very specific. And then the week after, on the Friday, we'll do door knocking for an open house coming up in the neighborhood. So within that area, to get the looky-loos interested, or just, as they say, one person sells, someone around them is going to sell as well. So it's always very specific when I door knock. I've never just gone into a community and it's like, hello, here I am. So.
No, and I love those, all of your strategies. And I always love the phrases like, we've seen all the inventory. When you're looking for a buyer, we've seen all the inventory. We've tried to make an offer on a few. It hasn't worked out. For the right price, would you consider selling your home? Or even, like you said, the listings that pop up around a new listing. I think the percentage is like something like 80% of the time. There's a new listing that pops up within a few blocks of that listing, just getting people thinking about selling. So awesome. So without a doubt, one of the hardest parts of door knocking is motivating yourself to get started. And I'm not a very extroverted person, so my heart was always beating a mile a minute when you pull up to the street and you're like, okay, I'm ready to do this. And you give yourself a pep talk and getting out. And then once you do a couple doors, for me, it got a lot smoother. But what do you guys do to motivate yourselves? And how do you get over if you have that initial reluctance? Geoff?
Yeah, for me, it doesn't matter how long you've been doing it, whether it's phone cold calls or knocking on a door, there's always going to be that moment of reluctance, honestly, every single door you go to. But as you get going, it's getting your body moving. And as soon as your body moves, you're somewhat committed to it. So you really just have to get up and do it. Years ago in my career, I really struggled with it. There's a really good book called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. For those who haven't read it, it basically is you've got 5 seconds, you count down, and in that 5 seconds, you need to make the physical reaction to just start doing it. And honestly, once you've knocked on that door, or once you've gotten moving, it's actually pretty easy. But it's just getting over that reluctance. And so that's just a tool that basically tricks your mind into doing it.
See, what's interesting for me, and I wasn't expecting that answer from you, because like you and I have known each other for just about 20 years now, and I've never seen you shy to talk to anybody. So it's interesting to see somebody that is as bold as you still have that reluctance, but you have these strategies to get past it.
Your body is actually looking to find a reason for you not to do it. So like, as long as you get up and do it, like if you're in a social conversation, you're expected to respond right away. But if you're thinking about going to knock on that door, your body's going to come up, or your mind's going to come with all sorts of reasons not to. It's like, just get moving and do it, and your body or your mind will react.
Nice. Awesome. Brenda, how about you?
Mine is just knowing my reason behind it, because I'm like I'm not a really huge extrovert either in that aspect. So just knowing I'm going to advertise for my current seller, or the buyer, like I did in Bridgeland, where I was going for her. So as long as I have that other purpose, then I do it for them, as opposed to my needs or wants, and that keeps me going.
Nice. Serving other people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What they need.
Bobby?
Same kind of thing. I'm not really a huge extroverted person, and it's just getting out there and getting that first step, knocking on that first door. I can't count the amount of times that I've driven around for 20 minutes just trying to figure out, it's like, okay, do I start on this street? Do I start on this street? Oh, hey, look, there's a sale here. Like, trying to figure out where I should start. And the biggest thing is just stopping and looking at that first door where you come across and starting there.
Awesome. Do you guys have any favorite icebreakers that you start conversations with when you first knock on the door or take that step back? What's your favorite icebreakers, Brenda?
Mine, I just basically tell them my purpose of why I'm there, and I stumble a bit sometimes, and I can feel bad sometimes because I don't want to disturb people or be in their face, or for me, I just really need a purpose, or else I don't feel right knocking on their door, because I'm the person that's not opening my door when someone knocks on it. So I have to really know why I'm there. So I just introduce myself and say, what I'm doing and why. It's a very basic.
Bobby, how about you?
Biggest thing that I found that people react the best to is just coming in with, you might not see it right now because obviously a little bit of anxiety coming on camera in front of a ton of people, but so much energy, just being so positive. And especially right now, people haven't seen or had much of a conversation or seen a lot of people in the past year and a half. And if you can come in so positive with so much good energy, people respond really, really well. And the people that don't open the doors are the ones that don't want to talk anyway. So if chances are, if somebody's opening that door, they're okay having a conversation right now. And if they're still kind of scared with what's going on, they're just going to stand back, say, no, sorry, I don't want to answer. But for the most part, the people that answer the door, and if you can bring a really good positive energy, you'll have a good conversation. And whether it's just, how long have you been in the community for? Just asking those questions if they're not interested in selling, just getting to know them a little bit more, and asking them, maybe, do you know anybody that's looking to sell? I have somebody that's looking to come into the community, and this is their criteria.
Nice. Geoff, how about you?
That's similar in terms of like, you want to come in with good energy. For me, it's I want to identify myself within the first 5, 6, 7 seconds before we get to the small talk, because I can think of a number of times someone's knocked on my door and they're trying to be all buddy with me. I was like, who are you? What are you doing? Get off my doorstep. And as long as you can come in and like, as soon as they know you're a realtor and, okay, you know what? I want to know about the houses in the neighborhood, or I want to know whatever. Now you can build that rapport, and that's where the personality can come in. So honestly, no tricks, identify who you are and then just get to what you want to talk about.
Nice. Straight to the point. Mm-hmm. Do you guys have any sort of follow-up plan, or what's your marketing strategy to stay in contact with those people that do want to engage? And let's start with that. Bobby, you go first this time.
Yeah, follow-up strategy. Anybody, if they're not interested in selling right now, sometimes people just say, I'm not interested in selling right now. So the next follow-up question that I'll always ask is, if not now, were you thinking maybe 6 months to a year down the road? They'll either say, well, yeah, I was thinking about a little bit later this year or within the next couple of years. And it's like, okay, great. Well, I get a lot of people that have, they see a lot of positive results or have a lot of interest in a monthly email that I send out. It'll give you all your market snapshot for the community and maybe a few other things. What would be the best way for me to send that to you? And then at that point, they'll give you their email address, or they'll just tell you, no, I'm not interested. But at that point, I'll put them into a MailChimp monthly campaign that I'll do. And then from there, if they don't want to give that information and they say, come back in a year from now, I'll put it in a calendar. And like, I've got probably 6 people that I should have went to their house last month, but I'll be doing it within the next week or so. But yeah.
Nice. Geoff?
Yeah, mine, I have a KV Core website, so I will hashtag whatever it is that I'm doing and then try to like attach it to a listing so that I can look back and see if it was however many leads I got from one listing, or if it was an open house, they go into an open house campaign. So basically it's targeted to whatever I'm doing for the door knock, but then they at least then get, similar to Bobby, they get my monthly mail out, they get the different things based on where they filter into.
Awesome. Brenda, how about you?
Pretty much the same. Well, with the monthly mail out, put them on the mailing list if they allow it. But I also like to initially send out the bomb video to remind them who I am and just try to keep it really personal. And people actually really like those videos. As much as I didn't do it for a long time, they gravitate toward. They're like, "Oh my God!" And then some will reply back on video, and you can tell they're feeling all awkward, and it's just me watching it. But I like the bomb replies.
Nice. Bomb, KV Core, door knocking, it all reminded me, like, I've come to the conclusion that everything in real estate works. Every single strategy works, but it doesn't work for everybody. So just finding what works for you and selecting what you want to try. And sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes door knocking isn't the right fit for people, but just figuring out what works for you. And I also love bomb. So great. So I guess final question, what's been actually, let's change that one. If somebody was to start door knocking, what would be your advice to that person to get going? And what would be your words of wisdom, so to speak, Geoff?
Yeah, research the area before you go out. You're going to get questions. You're going to want to have conversations and appear as an expert. But honestly, just get out and do it. It's not as scary as you think it is. The first door knock is the first time you have a conversation with somebody is going to be really motivating and really going to make you want to go knock on that next one. And if you're scared of getting a door slammed in your face, make it a game. I actually laugh every time, like, someone peeks through the curtains and doesn't answer the door, things like that. I mean, it's entertaining, and it can be a fun experience if you go into it with that mindset.
Nice, I love that. Brenda, how about you?
Mine is to have a purpose, like a reason why you're door knocking, not just knocking on doors, like whether it's a sale, recent sale, or coming soon, or my buyers are truly looking in the area. I need to have that true purpose to feel like it's okay to knock on their door. So that's mine, is like really have a reason.
And Bobby?
I'd agree with Brenda. Come in with a strong purpose. It'll show a couple things, and kind of going on what Geoff said is know the statistics and know the area. Especially if you're looking for a seller in a seller's market, not everybody knows how the market's reacting and how it's constantly changing. If you can come in and one of the things that I come in when I knock on somebody's door, I'll pick one of the most recent sales within like a couple block radius of wherever it is and say, this house on such and such street, it was 1,600 square feet, 4-bed, 3-bath. It was on the market for 14 days. It was listed at X price and actually sold for blah. And people are like, "Oh, really?" And you could just kind of go off there and ask them, if you're interested in selling, would a similar sale price be acceptable to you? And they'll say, "Well, I'm interested, or I'm not interested in selling." And it just allows to kind of continue the dialogue. But if you really know what's going on in that community, like Geoff said, it'll make you appear as an expert, and it gives you that purpose to get out and have that conversation with those people.
Awesome. Yeah, we're blessed to be in an industry that there isn't too many homeowners that don't like hearing about what's going on in the market, especially with all the ups and downs that's been going on over the last year or so.
Yeah.
Before we close out, my favorite door knocking story of all time. There was a lady earlier in my career who loved door knocking. She was very bold, very outspoken, and in my experience, there hasn't been a lot of bad experiences with door slamming and that kind of stuff. But this one particular lady knocked on the door, and this guy answered and was incredibly rude, slammed the door. So she walked around to the back of the house, knocked on the back door, and said, "Just wanted to see if the guy at the back of the house was as big of a jerk as the guy at the front of the house." He laughed. They ended up doing a deal together, and it was just, she responded in kind to his personality. It was bold. I would never do that, but I love that story.
Wow.
I appreciate all of you guys taking the time to share your knowledge and experience. It's a huge part of what makes us who we are at CIR, the collaboration, and I'm just grateful to have you guys, and thank you. And that is it for our door knocking segment. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.